Hi BookTube! My name is Sarah and welcome to the Bookish Knitter. Thank you guys so much for the delay. Thank you for the delay. Thank you for your patience during the technical difficulties that we had, or I had, I should say. So I have two laptops. One I used to use for when I worked from home for my old job, and the other one is the one that I use for everything else. So I couldn't get anything working on this one, on the one that I use, my everyday laptop. So I tried to boot up the old one. The old one wouldn't boot up. Nothing was working, and it was very frustrating. And then I was able to get on very briefly and on my phone, and Steve could see me, but he couldn't hear me, and it's just been a whole thing. So Steve's not here just yet. When he does join, I will add him in. But let me know. I hope you guys can hear me, and it looks okay. Do let me know. I'm assuming you can hear me. I am very, very sorry about what happened a bit earlier. Guys, it's just been a week. I'm not kidding you. Okay, so after I'm done this, I'm going to film my daily reading update, and I'm going to tell you very briefly what my week's been like, because it has not been fun. Speak of the devil, and he shall appear. Hold on one second. Hi, Steve.
Hello. I'm very sorry.
Yeah, no apologies. Like what happened to me just before. Don't worry about it. Oh, you can hear me now, right?
I can. Everything is perfectly fine. Yes,
Brilliant.
I have a little bit of a bump myself, but it's over.
Oh, my IT guy is still working on my other laptop. He's actually taking it back down to factory settings and seeing if we can't get it fixed that way.
Have you ever given any thought to the fact that maybe you just have a bad IT guy?
I think so. He works for free, so, that's...
I don't know. I consider kicking him to the curb.
You can't get good help these days.
Don't I know it?
Yay. So, we're here to talk February Harlequin releases. You excited, Steve? I'm excited. So, I want to try again to do the share a screen. If we get laggy, I will go to my tablet. But I just want to try it to see if I can get it to work.
You want to try and share screen minutes after you had a tech apocalypse?
I think it's more that this stupid machine needed to be reset. It was like, you know what I mean? It needed to be, I'm horrible. I don't shut my laptop down, and I just kind of let it go. And then I think it just needed to be shut down and restarted again.
What do you mean you don't shut it down? You have to shut it down.
I never turn it off.
You have to turn it off for regular updates.
I know, but I don't. Very rarely will, until it starts giving me a see, you know what? That's the same look my IT guy gives me too. Both the one at the office and the one here.
You don't take regular updates? You're still running on 1970s tape technology?
I have not updated to Windows 11. I refuse to update to Windows 11. Yeah. I'm that person who just says, remind me later, remind me later. I think we'll be okay. Like I said, I want to give it a try, actually. Garrett stole my mouse. Oh, come on. Because the other laptop does not have a trackpad that works. So, I'm old school. I like using a mouse. Alrighty, let's see what we got here. So, did you look and see what's coming out, Steve? Do you...
I did, yes. I have a million questions.
Oh, wonderful. Okay, so... Let me go ahead. My first
question is, why on earth are you thinking that sharing your screen is going to work?
Like I said, just let me try. I really prefer doing it that way because I just think it's easier.
It is preferable, but...
Let's see what happens. Okay. So far, so good. So there have been changes this month that I can say right off the hop. And you said you had questions. Go ahead, Steve.
But before we get into the books, can we do our standard patter, keeping in mind that this video will be up forever?
Of course.
Okay, so patter number 1 comes from me, and patter number 2 comes from you. Patter number 1 is this is a snobbery-free zone.
Yes.
If you have come here to wonder if at some point in this video Sarah and I are going to start talking about real books, you can take your air quotes and shove them where the sun don't shine. Okay? This is a snobbery-free telecast here.
Thank you.
And then your bit is, would you mind giving us a really quick overview of what we're talking about when we talk about category romances for Harlequin?
Of course. Category romances are essentially, God, we did a whole video on it last week.
We haven't got up about it.
Yeah, I know, right? Harlequin is the most well-known. As I said last week, we talk Harlequin, but these are also Mills and Boon. If you are in the UK or overseas, you can go on millsandboon.co.uk and see some very similar books. They do differ region to region, but essentially what category romance is you get a specified number of books in each different line in a given month. So you'll get 4 books for the heartwarming line, and we'll get into these as we talk about the books. Those tend to be clean, sweet romances, so you know what you're picking up. It's essentially a foolproof way of getting to read books that you know you're going to enjoy. And the price point is good. They're fun stories. They're just lighthearted and enjoyable. And of course, this year I am, of course, doing the year of category romance, where that's all I'm reading except for my throwback books. I have a feeling that in a few months I'm going to need some sort of gritty thriller just to cleanse the palate, if you will. but the thing about categories is you get everything. Like, I read a serial killer murder book, and then I read a book about a rancher. You know what I mean? You get a little bit of everything.
And another important thing about the categories is that you mentioned they're predictable.
Mm-hmm.
They're predictable length.
Mm-hmm.
They're predictable in terms of even some plot requirements. So you're not going to suddenly get your expectations subverted,
right,
in the middle of a love inspired. That's not going to happen.
No, it's not. You're absolutely correct. You're
Okay.
absolutely correct. So the biggest change this month has been that the special edition line, for the first time in, I can't tell you, maybe since the start of the run, that it's gone from 6 books down to 4. And what they've done instead is they've broken out their 2 biggest series. One of them here on screen is the Fortunes of Texas series. The other is the Montana Maverick series, and they are now going to be separately published books, no longer under the special edition banner. I don't know why they did this.
Will they be under any Harlequin banner?
No, they are considered to be like single title. That's my assumption. That's I guess. I don't know how Harlequin labels their things anymore. It doesn't make any sense to me. Like,
you get the impression that that spinning them out into these non-Harlequin series is a good move? How much of their base readership is category readership rather than the readers of these particular series?
Oh, it goes both ways. I mean, if you love category, you love these because they're fantastic. To be honest, the Fortunes of Texas series and the Montana Maverick series are great. And I kind of see why they did it, because every month you were getting one of each, right? So you were only getting 4 other books anyway, if that makes sense. So might as well spin them into their own thing. But I don't know. In my heart, they've always been part of this. It's like a parent splitting up. You know what I mean? Like, you've always been part of this. Why are you? I still think people are going to consider them to be category because they're still going to be the standard special edition length. They're still going to have the same tropes. That nothing's changed in that aspect. And
the other business decision? The one business decision was to spin them off, but the other business decision was not to keep the number up by adding 2 more books. You think that's wise?
Potentially. And that's what I was thinking about back when this was announced last year. I thought, are they now slowly phasing out special edition? By dropping down the amount of books every month, just to see if there still is a readership. That's the other thing that I was thinking too, is like, if we remove these key books that people seem to love and leave the other ones, what's the readership going to be like? Are people only reading because of these books, or are they loving the line as it's, do you know what I mean? Which again, it scares me because I do love these books so much, like all of categories so much.
For listeners 10 years from now, how would you describe special edition?
Oh, special edition books. We'll jump ahead to those because we're already here.
No, we can go in whatever order you want. I just want
to show, just because these are in order, like on the website, right? So I jumped into this one first, and I just wanted to kind of talk about that. So yeah, no, we'll do this. So the special edition novels are small town generally. Home and family, they tend to be not longer books. They're longer than presents. They come in around the 280 page mark. I don't know what the word count exactly is, but they can be sweet or they can be spicy. It all does depend on the author who's writing the book. So there's no stipulation that it has to have adult content. The authors can do with it as they will. Okay? So you are getting both. And if you're someone who predominantly reads, you know, sweet romances, you might want to try and find an author in special edition that you like Terry Wilson. Terry Wilson writes sweet romances, also involving dogs every time, Steve, by the way. And so you know you're going to get a sweet romance with her, for sure. Mm-hmm. So, yeah, The Fortunes of Texas. The first one is The Fortune's Baby, claimed by Michelle Major. It's part of the Digging for Secrets series. So this is coming out in February. And then the other one is the Montana Mavericks series, which is, where are they hiding it? Right here. I don't like the way this is being done now. So this guy, okay, the cover model, Steve, he's been on like 18 covers this month. I swear to God. I'm not complaining. I'm just stating a fact.
At least this cover makes more sense than the last one.
Mm-hmm.
The last one had two people dressing up in formal wear and then bumping and rattling a baby carriage over the back to stand at a fence. The last one didn't make a whole lot of sense. You know, the guy looks at the girl meaningfully and says, "My heart is yours," and she looks at him, and then she looks over her shoulder and says, "Is that a bull?" Yeah. He looks angry. And the romance.
And a side note, not only are we here to discuss the books, we're here to completely critique the covers. Because that's what we mm-hmm. And that's fine.
if there is a friendly version of the adjective catty, Sarah and I are that version. We are that word, whatever that word is.
It's all done in love because we love these books, and part of their charm, I think a lot of the time, is the slightly campy covers, if you will. And the more I'm looking at the new books, I hate to say it, I'm actually kind of starting to like the cover changes that are being made, except for the ones that are horribly photoshopped. Those, I have no place for horribly photoshopped. But I'm not minding the new branding so much the more that I'm seeing it now. You know what I mean?
On the categories themselves, no. I think we reserve our main irritation for spinning off to $15, $17 paperbacks,
right?
Where the category branding is invisible.
Yes, exactly.
You have shown on your channel that the artwork for these category things has gone through a million eras.
Oh, absolutely. And they have their strengths
and they have their weaknesses.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. So this is the first of the Montana Mavericks. We have Sweet Talkin' Maverick by the great Christy Jeffries. She is fantastic. She writes some great Montana Mavericks books. I absolutely love them. But since we did very briefly mention, or you did, Steve, Afterglow, I will just quickly, these are not category by any stretch of the imagination.
Look at them.
But that's just, my bigger thing is look at the price. Okay, so that's for the ebook, $7.99. But how much are the trade paperbacks? Now that's in US dollars, $10.39. That's not something you just pick up at the grocery store with your milk and eggs.
No, it's not. And also, I want to point out to anybody listening that $7.99 is highway robbery for an ebook.
Absolutely, it is.
The total cost of the ebook is a fraction of that. Even if you add on a significant chunk for the writer, it's still a fraction of that for something that you don't own, mm-hmm. that you can't lend or mm-hmm. give away. Mm-hmm. Ridiculous. No.
No. I my personal opinion is I am also thinking that their regular prices for the ebooks are a little high. They're coming in at $5.99 Canadian, which I still feel is a little steep for an ebook. You know? But anyway, those are the Afterglow. We will not be talking about them again. So let's jump into the lines. So this month, Harlequin Heartwarming, which are uplifting stories where the bonds of friendship, family, and community unite. So these are 4 new books every month.
And they're totally clean.
These are very, very much just clean romances.
Some new readers out there are not going to want graphic descriptions. You're just not. Absolutely. And again, I want to remind newcomers in the future, this is a snobbery-free zone. a reader who's an adult, a mother and a grandmother who's made more decisions about how to run a household by noon than you've made in your whole friggin' life is perfectly within her rights to say, I don't want to encounter that in my book.
Mm-hmm.
That doesn't make her a bad reader or a weak reader or a provincial reader. All three words I've heard in the last 3 weeks.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not gonna rant for the whole.
This is why I invite you on, Steve, because you make it that much more entertaining.
There's absolutely nothing wrong with that. I would argue that that probably shouldn't be the only thing. You shouldn't only read predictable things, but not every category is predictable.
Absolutely.
Some of them are. Some of them brand themselves that way. But and this 100%. Is why. Sorry.
No. So yeah, so like Steve said, these are cleaner romances. So this month we have, I'm not going to try and jump around the screens too much, but we have Reunited with the Rancher by Anna Grace, the 5th book in the Love Oregon series. And also, side note, I have picked one book from each one of these lines that I will be reading in February. That's my goal. I am not sharing in this video what books I have picked. You're going to have to stay around for my TBR coming next week. But one of these from each lines I picked.
I picked 2 books from all the lines that I'll be reading in February too. Really
well, you also have a bit more reading time than I do, Steve.
I have a bit more reading time, yes. I'm not dedicating my year to categories.
Right.
Sometimes I'm so envious of that. How wonderful it would be if someday I could just say, I'm going to read historical fiction all year.
Oh, yes.
New and old, but only that. Oh.
I'm trying to get backlist in here too, so which is going to be great.
Can you zoom in on the covers, or will that cut out the audio?
What's that? Clicking on the covers?
Yeah, so we can see the covers a little more clearly.
Oh, it's absolutely. Yeah, just give me 1 second here. Just let me open them up. Yeah, I mean, one of these is like, it's okay. So the first one, like I said, is Reunited with the Rancher. Oh, where did it go? Oh, no. Hold on. Technical difficulties. Oh, you know why I closed the screen? Silly girl. Share. There we go. There it is. Yay. So we have Reunited with the Rancher by Anna Grace. This is a cute cover, I think. These are also very cowboy-esque books. They tend to run cowboy. If you like cowboy, you're going to like these books. And then we have The Cowboy Second Chance by Cheryl Harper, the 3rd book in the Fortunes of Prospect series. Oh, and side note, all of these are actually being released. Are they already released? What date do they come out? We still have another Tuesday. They're coming out on the 30th of January. So if you want to buy them, you can buy them right now on harlequin.com. If you want their crappy ebooks that you have to read on their crappy app, you know my thoughts on the app. Or you can get them as print books. And oh yeah, and
we're trying to get you a job with these people. You're not helping me.
But because that's the first thing I would do, I'd be like, dudes, get rid of your stupid crappy app. These are also the longest books you're going to get are the heartwarming books. They come in because they're considered larger print. They do come in at like almost 400 pages. So they're more of your standard size trade paperback mass market romance novel that you would buy at Walmart. But these ones have a lot of secondary stories. You're getting the secondary characters, the other characters in town, the siblings, the B plot. You know what I mean?
We should point out, though, that although the plots are, the action is clean, these can be very emotionally jagged books.
Oh, my God. Yes.
You're not. It doesn't, just because you're not getting love scenes doesn't mean this is all sweetness and kittens. I read one last year where a character is seriously, unjustly angry for the whole book, and it only barely gets resolved.
Absolutely.
And it's done well. It was done well.
Absolutely. The Cowgirls Homecoming by Janine Watt, The Cowgirls of Larkspur Valley, book number 3. Again, like I said, lots and lots of...
Uh-oh. We appear to have lost both Harlequin and Sarah. Which gives me all the opportunity I need to start talking about
I don't
Sasquatch.
know why I try and do anything, because I swear...
You're back. Oh, how awkward.
I gotta stop touching the wrong button. As my IT guy would say, don't touch. This is the back button I want. That's what I had done. But yeah, no, like you were saying to that point, I read Grace and the Cowboy last month, and it was so good, so emotional. The Doc's Instant Family by Lisa Childs. This is part of the Bachelor Cowboys book. So again, every single book has been a cowboy book for these. Not that I'm complaining. Not that I'm complaining. I'm going to jump into just a couple of comments here. See, I'm not the only one. I don't turn off my laptop either. The update run and installed, but it restarts after that. We've shocked Steve. Steve's rules. Yes, your rules are the best. Snobbery free. Yes, thank you, Cajun. Glad I caught that. Yes, thank you for. Sorry, guys, it was kind of a last minute. Steve was good to go, so we decided to give this a try again.
It's ridiculous that I even have to make such a rule for a genre that counts for over 50% of all books sold. Not all books sold in romance. All books sold. Period. Over 50% is this, and yet I do. In part, I hate to say it, for my own profession. I know so many critics who just dismiss it out of hand. They just they dismiss all category. They dismiss all genre fiction of any kind out of hand.
Yes. I know. So Lisa, who's one of our UK viewers, says, from what I see going forward, True Love, Mills and Boone doesn't seem to have any of the special edition titles anymore, just the romance titles. Could possibly get them later in a monthly anthology. That's disappointing. Because my personal opinion, the special edition are some of my very favorites. Yes, we're glad you caught this too, Storm. Looking forward to reading Amanda Sinelli's new Presents novel. I agree. We'll get to that one shortly. Looking forward. Okay, thank you. Oh, yeah, I want to kick myself out. Doc's Instant Family is bad Photoshop. Thank you, Trish. I absolutely agree. That's my least favorite cover of all 4 of them for this month, to be honest.
Yeah, it is pretty bad. I mean, just right, exactly what Laura's saying. The light source is coming from 3 different places.
Yeah, exactly. Like, do better, Harlequin, do better. So let's get into Steve's favorites. All right. So the first one we have is A Duke for the Penniless Widow by Christine Merrill, book 2 in the Irresistible Duke's book. This guy, he's on like all the historical covers, is he not?
I read the first one in this series and really liked it.
Oh, good. Yeah, I like the cover on that one. I think it's really pretty. I do really tend to like the historical covers. They seem to do a really good job with those ones. We have,
look, Sarah. It's
Viking book. He does look rather unkempt, though, doesn't he?
I'm sure he smells just fine.
Yeah, right? Convenient
Perfect time to spend an entire winter in a longhouse with no water, no bathing. I'm sure they won't have any complaints.
None at all. So this is a 2-in-1. So you actually get 2 short stories in this book by Lucy Morris and Sarah Rhodey. So that's kind of nice. If you're looking to try out Viking Romance, if you like it, you get this one and you get a 2-in-1, which would be kind of nice. Interesting. Whoops. Here we go. We have Miss Georgina's Marriage Dilemma by Eva Shepherd, Rebellious Young Ladies, book number 3.
This was one of mine for this month.
Oh, was it? It's a Victorian romance. I do love the Victorian romances.
It sounds completely delightful.
Sparks fly in this grumpy versus sunshine Victorian romance. Oh yeah, that does sound delightful. I love a grumpy sunshine story. Where are we going here? Right here. Spinster with a Scandalous Past by Sadie King. Another Regency. Oh, it's her debut novel as well. That's always exciting.
So have you ever talked to her?
No, I have not. I might have to try and reach out. Oh, we could interview her together, Steve, if you're interested. We could try and reach out.
Well, sometimes the no snobbery rule works in reverse as well. A lot of romance writers have been so burned by that they take one look at someone who looks like me and think, oh, no.
That's fair.
He's just going
to... I will interview her, and you could be in the comment section.
I'm wondering, what do you think goes into someone being a debut Harlequin novelist? They need to know somebody? Do they pitch themselves over and over again?
I mean, I've talked to so many of them that I've heard those getting the call stories quite often. So generally, most of the time, they write the book and then there are submissions. Sometimes they'll just, like Harlequin will take your submission without an agent. So you don't have to have an agent to submit work to them. But
Okay.
I mean, but they do have open calls quite often, a number of times a year. Right now, they're really like kind of focusing on diversity and stuff like that. And there's certain lines, like if you go on the Write for Harlequin website, it will say, we're not currently accepting books for presents, because they probably have more than enough, right? So you can look for those and you just submit your work. There's rules set down there for submitting your work, but no, you don't have to know somebody.
So that's what you mean by get the call.
Yeah, then they get the call.
Oh, yep. Wow. Oh, yep. That's amazing. That must
Daisy
be so
Yates talked about hers because she's been publishing for over 10 years. And when she got her first Harlequin, she had, I think her son was just born, and she was he was just brand new. And she got the phone call telling her that her book had been bought by Harlequin. And I just thought how amazing to hear that story, right? They're lovely. And then we have, I really like this one. This one looks like, I know Brie interviewed her. I was no longer on the podcast at the time, but this is The Return of His Caribbean Heiress by Linda Sands Andreas, I believe, which is the third book in the Caribbean courtship series. I really like the change of place. Do you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
But I don't know the time period on this one, to be honest. I'm trying to gather from the clothing, but I really can't tell. I'll have to read it and find out, essentially. And then, still February. Oh yes, Wedded to His Enemy, Debutant. I love the cover on this one too, by Samantha Hastings. An Enemies to Lovers Regency.
Yeah, it's really good, although, we both know there's one particular line of the categories that blows all the others away for covers. We're not there yet.
No. You are absolutely correct.
Yeah, this is good. For historical, sure, this is good.
For historical, this is great, but we haven't gotten to the good stuff yet. Now into one of my favorite lines, which is the Intrigue line. So I noticed that there's these 3 books by Janine Crouch out here: Protect, Rescue, and Savior. These are part of the Omega Sector series that she put out. These are republished. They just republished them with new covers. They were originally published under the banner of Intrigue, but these are new. These are not new, excuse me. They're republished, just so people are aware. But the first one we have is by a favorite of mine. I actually have a physical edition of this, but I don't have it in front of me. And this is A Stalker's Prey by the great Katie Richards. This is the 8th book in the West Investigation series. So the Intrigue novels, for those who are unaware, are romantic suspense novels. And they tend to focus more on the mystery or suspense part of the story, and the romance comes secondary. Katie Richards does an amazing job on this, like on balancing the two of them without one really overpowering the other. So I really like her books. And I have, luckily, a signed copy of that one.
It looks like the cover is Representative Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez from the United States.
Right.
Well, I'm assuming that the person stalking her is one of the dozen or so Republican senators she's embarrassed over.
The great Nicole Helm, Cold Case Identity.
When she got him on a timer, she leans over and says, "So what you'd be doing right now, Senator, is called lying." I'm assuming
That's hilarious. Yeah, Cold Case Identity by Nicole Helm, the Hudson Sibling Solutions book number 2. Not loving the cover on this one, but
no, what's wrong with their footwork?
It doesn't look like, it looks like she's like Jesus and she's like, do you know what I mean? Like she's walking on water.
Yeah, both of them look like their legs are numb. Whoa.
Yeah.
Whoa. Yeah. Don't walk on it. Wait for the feeling to come back.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't like it at all. I'm sorry. Again, we are here to critique the covers. I should start a drinking game for the number of times this guy's on the cover of these books.
Once upon a time, I was going to ask, do we know who he is? But once upon a time, our beloved Romantic Times magazine would have had a feature article on him. We would know.
Absolutely. I miss that magazine. They were one of the ones that they reviewed what, every single category that came out every month.
Every. And I can predict down to the last detail what your relationship with them would have been. You would have, if YouTube had existed 30 years ago, you would have been talking about them on your channel. Then you would have got a job reviewing, and then you would have got a column.
I miss them.
And that's where you'd be now. You'd be a world famous romance columnist. You'd be able to afford a much sexier IT guy. Talk about accepting updates.
I feel like this is a romance novel that needs to be written.
And he's probably lurking off stage. You could pull the plug on you at any time.
He's down the hall right now. He's in the bathroom. This one does look good, though. Helicopter Rescue by Danica Winters. It's book 1 in the Big Sky Search and Rescue series. I guess they're in a crash, in the aftermath of a crash. So, in other words, if you ever want to fly in a helicopter, don't read this book. Is what I'm gathering from it.
But since it's an intrigue novel, that means you will get police work.
Right? 100%. Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. And a Steve cover. Canine Security by Nicole Severin. The New Mexico Guard Dogs, book number 1. Aww. Does it get the Frida seal of approval? That's the question.
No. No, dogs usually don't. Especially big dogs who have attitude.
Oh, yes. Fair enough. And then we have Monster in the Marsh by Carla Cassidy, which is book 2 in the Swamp Slayings series. This, I believe, is a New Orleans, Louisiana, location book.
And he's just sloshing around in the swamp on the cover. But it turns out from the plot that is the plot, that he finds himself just in panic, sloshing around, and meets someone in the swamp. That's such a fascinating idea. Exactly.
I do have the first book on my TBR for January in this series. I hope I can get to it before the end of the month. At least get it started so I can carry it into February. And then
I'm going to use the whole of the series before the end of this live stream.
Oh, no, I don't doubt it, Steve.
I always make that bratty comment on any of your live streams.
You absolutely do.
Everybody just rolls. Oh, yeah, okay, Steve.
Well, that's what I was reading the comments from our failed one just before. And because we were late, somebody's like, Steve's probably finishing a few books. We know you well, my friend.
I've only read one book today, and
only one?
It's a thriller with a huge international reputation. It's getting an American publication, and I honestly don't know why it has the acclaim that it does. I almost feel like I missed something, but I know that I did. I'm gonna have to figure it out. but that's all. Well, just one book so far today.
Well, I did start this one today, Steve.
Oh. Ooh.
It's about a service dog, for a seizure service dog, which is kind of nice. So yeah, Janice K. Johnson. I am a huge fan of her work. This is The Sheriffs to Protect. Yeah, standard, rescuing a woman and her child kind of a scenario. Let me get into some comments here. I don't want to forget you guys in the comment. The Viking books are always gorgeous, unlike real Vikings. Storm loves her historicals too. I agree. I find with the romance books, I'm always wanting a bit more story. The special editions being longer are usually better reads. I agree, Lisa. The historicals are longer. Yes, they do tend to be a little bit longer as well. Randy says, hey, y'all, I hope I haven't missed too much. No, welcome. Thank you for joining us. Hi, Veronica. Hello, Anita. Susan says, got a new book on Audible. Denise. Hi, Denise. I hope I didn't miss too much. I love Harlequin, and I also love my favorite romance author, Brenda Jackson, write for them. Brenda Jackson, old school. She is fantastic. Talk about somebody I'd love to interview would be Brenda Jackson. She must have stories. You know what I mean? Like of her days at Harlequin. And yes, it does sound paranormal. And you're back. I'll watch the first part later. Excellent. All right, so let's jump into the next set of books here. I'm reading a medical romance right now. And I'm learning to like them, but they're still not my absolute favorites.
No, those of you who didn't watch our last live stream, Sarah and I both had a lot of experience being in hospitals. So the medical line is just not going to work. All you want to do is leave. That's all you want to do is leave. And everybody who's there, literally everybody who works there, is going on their 40th hour without sleep. They're bumping into walls. So there aren't any hot and heavy, no matter what you saw on ER. They're not,
or on Grey's Anatomy. Yeah, that's not how it goes. We have Bound by Their Pregnancy Surprise by Louise Heaton, Yorkshire Village Vets, book number 2. Some of these, though, and I mentioned this before, that you're not just getting human hospital stuff, you're also getting veterinarians, and that's what it means by vets, not veterans in the war scenario, which is kind of nice. I like that they're expanding that a little bit. Breaking the Nurse's No Dating Rule by Janice Lynn. I do have to say, again, these are gorgeous covers too. Like, really, they are very, very pretty. And I quite like them.
When it comes to the medical romance,
but the one...
Are they fairly, do they pull their punches in medical romances? Will you get tragedies in hospitals?
Oh my gosh, yes.
You will get those in the medical romances.
Not gore, but I mean, you will get, like... So I got to interview Juliet Hyland, who writes for this line. And now she's not trained medically, but she has medical textbooks that she uses just to make sure that it's accurate. You know, and I've read some of these where it is difficult. There are some. The one thing you do find in these, because they do strive for, of course, the happily ever after, is that you're often going to get that potentially unrealistic ending of, oh, your cancer's cured. Oh, or we found the cure to this disease that you're the only person in the world who has. A kind of a house situation from that TV show, right? They want that happy ever after, essentially. But they are medically accurate to a point, is my understanding. I am very excited about this one only because she is a favorite author of mine. We have E.R. Doc's Las Vegas Reunion by Denise Ann Wheatley. She has written exclusively to this point for Intrigue. So this is her first medical. So I'm very excited for her. And I'm looking forward to seeing how this one is going to go. And it takes place in Vegas. Who doesn't love Vegas?
Oh, we seem to have lost Sarah and Harlequin. Perhaps it's time we had a few words about Sasquatch. It's a large anthropoid species that may or may not exist
one of these
in
times
the vast
I'm just...
Oh, you're back.
You're not noticing me, Steve.
Oh, very good.
Oh, it's hilarious. Oh my gosh. So not a fan of this cover, but I am not a fan of just like kids on covers. It's a romance novel. I don't, you know what I mean? Like, I want to see the couple, not the kid, but that's just me. Her Secret Valentine's Baby by J.C. Holloway. How much of a secret can it possibly be?
Yeah.
Yeah. You're pregnant. I think you know about it. We have Melting the Surgeon's Heart by Becky Wicks. Wearing a nice sweater there that his girlfriend probably knit for him. And last but not least, another Steve cover. We have... I know. Now that dog is gorgeous.
It's a spaniel. I've never actually owned a spaniel.
Oh, is that what it... Okay, see, I don't know dogs that well.
Oh.
This is the second book in that Yorkshire Village Vet series. So it's Sparks Fly with the Single Dad by Kate Hardy. A new vet, a new pup, and a new start. Looks delightful. Now we are getting into past the medical. Oh, here we go, Steve. Now we're getting into the covers we both really love. The Presents novels. So there are 8 of these that come out every month. These are, as I like to refer to them as, these are what you think of when you think of romance. These are the being swept away by the billionaire. You know, she works as his secretary and they see each other in the elevator and she's got coffee spilled down the front of her shirt, you know, and he whisks her away to, you know, Japan or whatever the case may be. The fantasy element of romance, that's these books. And
the money.
Mm-hmm.
The money.
Big money. Yep. So we have A Vow to Redeem the Greek by Jackie Asherden. They must wed, but as man and wife will their heated attraction be allowed to reign free. A convenient wedding romance. And the other thing about Presents, the title tells you about the book. You don't need to read the back of the book, just read the title. It will tell you everything you need to know going into that book. We have, I love this cover, An Innocent Deal with the Devil by Tara Pammy. Gorgeous, gorgeous.
Yeah, it's a great cover. Every single person in the chat is saying, "Could you two move? We want to look at the books. Could you sidle over to the side?"
That's why I wanted to try and bring it up this week, because it's just so much nicer for people to see these. His Last Minute Desert Queen by Annie West. Gorgeous, gorgeous, gorgeous. The covers are just...
That's another element that'll often be in the Presents, isn't it? Is royalty. I mean, his Last Minute Desert Queen.
100%.
He's a desert king, that he's a Saudi prince or a sheikh of some kind. And you'll often see in Harlequin Presents, and also in just a plain old Harlequin romance, you'll often see, kings of or princes of small European countries that don't really exist. Or
exactly. Small, not real.
Yeah, literally Cinderella stories, where it's not just
100%.
a guy. He's not just handsome, and he's not just wealthy. He's also going to make her a princess.
Yeah. Yeah, it's that fantasy aspect of the whole thing, which is amazing. Playing the Sicilians' Game of Revenge by Lorraine Hall. And also you're not even just these small European countries, but you're often getting a lot of very exotic locations, which is great, which is what I kind of really love about them. Oh, IT has arrived in the building. Thank you, dear. The Baby His Secretary Carries by Danny Collins. This is the first book in the Bound by a Surrogate Baby series. Temporary engagement is made complicated when a CEO's PA reveals she's expecting. Pregnancy, secret babies, also very, very big within the Presents novels. Couple more here. This is the one that everybody was talking about, the Amanda Cinelli book, A Bump in Their Forbidden Reunion by Amanda Cinelli. She typically writes female leads who are of a normal size, of, you might say plus size, but a normal size person. And oftentimes they are neurodivergent as well. Because Amanda Cinelli herself is neurodivergent, I believe. I'm sorry if I'm.
It's great that you say normal size. It's kind of weird in our image obsessed society that we think normal size we have to call plus size. Mm-hmm. It always reminds me of an old TV show where a character complains that the insides of her thighs are touching, so she must be overweight.
Yeah. Well, it's like the complaint that everybody has about Bridget Jones's Diary. She goes through the entire book and movie like, "Oh, I'm fat," and I'm like, "Dude, you weigh less than me." Like, but yeah, this one looks really good. The FasTrack Billionaires Club, book number 1. And
that's another question that I had about that one for you.
Of course,
that's the FasTrack Billionaires Club, book number 1. What do you think is the process that goes into that? Does the author go to Harlequin and say, "I really think this could be a series," or do they say to the author, "We want another series"?
It's a possibility. They're under contract, right? Like they can get under contract. Like I know, talking to Julianne Lindsay, she was contracted for X number of books, right? So
was that a surprise to her?
Yeah, because you get your first book, and then if they sell well, I guess then they can be like, "Oh, hey, we want another 3," right? And she can say, "I can write more in this series," or "Can I do something else?" So there's a negotiation. I think most of it does come from the author. But when you're talking about something like the Montana Mavericks or the Fortunes of Texas series, those are Harlequin decided on. So they write the Bible themselves, as they call it. So Harlequin puts together the Bible. These are the characters. These are the situations. These are the plots. And then they go to authors and are like, "Hey, would you like to be part of this and write one of the stories?" So then they're given, this is a basic outline of what we want. These are your characters, run with it. And they have their own say in it. But you know what I mean?
But something like this one must have been the author's idea.
Oh, that was
right?
100% her. I almost guarantee it was 100% her. Yep.
Okay.
Yep. If it's a series that has one author, it's their idea. If it's a series with multiple authors, it probably came from Harlequin, who decided to do this kind of thing. We have the amazing, always delightful Maisie Yates. I'm
Look
such
at
a
that
fan.
cover.
I
Just
know.
look at
The Italian's Pregnant Enemy by, of course, Maisie Yates. Book 1 in the Diamond in the Rough series. Absolutely beautiful.
And this is something that we talked about before. Maisie Yates, to put it in mercenary terms, she doesn't need to do category romances. She has a mainstream career. So it's got to be that she enjoys it, right? Likes the people, likes the atmosphere.
Yep. Yep. She loves them. Like for her, it's a I found out last year, I want to say it was last summer, she actually also writes under a pseudonym for Harlequin. So not only does she write under her name, but she writes, I think it's the historicals, under a pseudonym, because her publisher, like her agent, if you will, was like, we can't have too many books with your name on them on the shelves. Like if you go new release, you could have 6 new Maisie Yates books, right? So she had to create and she didn't tell anybody what it is. Like I just found out that she has this pseudonym. So if anyone knows what it is, do let me know, because I've been trying to hunt that out. Because of Maisie Yates historical, Steve, amazing. Amazing. She's so delightful. Okay, and I think, nope, one more. There's so many of these every month. Wedding Night in the King's Bed by Caitlin Cruz. Again, look at that cover.
And what is he the king of? See,
a guarded king will be unraveled. His Majesty, blah, blah, blah. So when her father declares that she's been given to the king in a loveless union, she accepts her fate. King something, it's a small unknown town or country, I'm sure. But it looks from the cover almost, I want to say like Middle Eastern, maybe?
It's interesting that the presents is still, the presents line is still full. The presents line and the actual mainstream Harlequin line are full of kings and queens and princes and princesses, as they have started to disappear from the historical line where they used to be all over the place.
Oh, 100%. Yes. Yes.
It's like the people that run the historical line have realized love happens everywhere.
Of course.
It doesn't, and maybe that's a reflection on what the readers want as well, that they don't need it.
I think so too. They want more of the normal people stories, if you will. Couple comments. Cajun asked, does anything ever happen to the dogs in those books? If so, how can you tell so you can avoid it? No, I'm like that too. That's one of those. I don't want any harm to come to an animal in a book. But from my experience, 99% of the time, if the dog is on the cover, the dog is fine. Just my opinion. Hi, Ro. Hello. Enjoying the show. Thanks for joining. In all caps in the descriptions, I'm pregnant with your baby. Storm, I wouldn't mind the medical vet ones. Yeah, no, they're quite fun. Denise says, I need some recommendations for historical novels by Harlequin. I need to expand. Well, Steve, you are the king of the historical novels here. That's
so many good ones. There have been so many good ones.
Any favorite authors that stick out?
Not that are currently writing. No, although I'm sure that with the current ones, the ones with the photo covers, I'm sure that there are authors that repeat there that I really like, and just I'm not remembering their names at the moment. Most of the ones I'm remembering are older.
Fair enough.
And the thing that I love about them is that when they're well done, there's a very blurry line between them and mainstream historical fiction. So you can wander all over the place if you find something that interests you.
Mm-hmm.
My one gripe about the historicals, I always say, is that for some odd reason they avoid the Italian Renaissance. I don't understand that. There are so many million stories to be told. They don't do it. Maybe they've done demographic studies and the readers don't want it. Or
it could be the writers. It would be the writers writing them, and maybe they just haven't received anything that's worth publishing yet. Who knows? But since this, I know she mentioned,
take a look at that Right for Harlequin side.
It might be a good idea. Might be. She did say she liked Brenda Jackson. So, Elle Jackson, E-L-L-E Jackson. She wrote a book last year that was set in the Roaring 20s, and it was about a jazz singer and a club owner. And it took me a bit to get through. I didn't love it at the time. I want to give it a reread, but it was more because I was in the hospital at the time and nothing was really grabbing my interest at that point. But everybody else who's read it said it was absolutely fabulous. And I can see, and like I said, I want to give it a reread with a fresh mind. But
there are other names that are right on the edge of my mind. Amanda McCabe doesn't write for.
No, she does. Yes, you are absolutely correct.
Does she do historicals?
Yes,
I know that I love her, but I don't remember where I love her
yeah.
from.
She does historicals, yes.
A Harlequin historicals author whose name is Austin, Austin.
Potentially. I can't think.
I feel like I'm letting you side down here because all the historical authors.
Christine Merrill does some great historicals. I'm trying to think of who else. If we come up with any, we will let you know as we go through this. Laura says, I like the medicals because it's one of the lines where everyone doesn't have to be a millionaire. 100%. But they are doctors, so generally they still do have a... Yeah, I agree, Ro. Baby covers, no thanks. I think the medical vets would be good, Storm. Yeah, Storm, I think you would really like those. Presence of a baby is not romantic. Well, it's kind of the anti. Wonder why getting pregnant is such a big thing. Isn't that what they are trying to avoid? I think it's just the maximum drama. Not my favorite trope. I agree, Paris, 100%. Laura, the pregnancy stories are not for me.
I agree completely. I might just be the Irish Catholic in me. I don't mind a baby on the cover. I don't mind a kid on the cover, but a pregnant woman on the cover. Yes. I don't think he's thinking about it. I don't know why he's thinking about it. It's just, I see that, and the old Irish Catholic in me says, both of you need to go to confession right now.
Veronica, yeah, I'm not interested in babies or pregnancy books. I'm old and miss the boats, so I don't read those. Nothing wrong with that. She's laughing. And Paris says, Denise, I read a very fun Harlequin historical this month called His Maddening Matchmaker by Virginia Heath. Thank you. It was very cute. Reminded me a bit of Tessa Dare.
Virginia Heath, there you go. She can do no wrong.
Yep, and we're getting, yes, Virginia Heath is great. We're getting secondary comments on that. Thank you. Oh, thank you, Jan. I don't think they're historicals, but Maisie Yates writes as Ellie Banks. Thank you. Thank you, thank you, thank you. I will have to look that up. No problem. Linda, yes, the Lydia, the one that I mentioned earlier, writes diverse Harlequin historicals. Haven't read her yet, though. I know Bree over when we used to do the podcast together. She loves her books. And Lottie St. James, L-O-T-T-E, St. James. She writes historical. I know that name. Yeah, and hers tend to be gothic. Like, they're very, like, you get Rebecca vibes or Jane Eyre vibes from the books. How is Maisie Yates so prolific? She writes. Little secret. She dictates her books.
Yeah. Maisie Yates is actually a pen name for me.
Oh, is it now? Really, Steve? Because you look different from the time I've interviewed you.
Oh, no, it's been a rough winter.
No crap. Into the Harlequin Romance line. So we have Beauty and the Playboy Prince by Justine Lewis. This is one of the books in the Fairy Tale Fits.
This is the oldest, the venerable, the one that started
it
all.
This is going back to book number 1. Yes, this is the OG. And I think all of the books in this month are part of the same mini series, and they're all fairy tale retellings, which is kind of fun. So this, I think, is a Beauty and the Beast. Again, I like that she's a normal size woman. And then we have Cinderella's $1 Billion Invitation, which is, of course, a Cinderella retelling by Michelle Renee. Part of His Royal World by Nina Singh. Little Mermaid, I believe. Makes sense. And then the last one for the month, there's only 4 of these that come out every month, is their fairy tale India Escape by Ruby Basu. And it's Rapunzel. The covers are gorgeous, honestly.
Yeah, They're wonderful.
Absolutely wonderful. I can't wait to read these ones. So these are, even though they're all part of this fairy tale series, they don't have to be read in any order. They don't have to all be read. They're just all fairy tale retellings published in the same month. That's all it is.
That's something that you can count on from Harlequin, right? Is that every book is one night.
Mm-hmm.
Right. Mm-hmm. I think that's where you get your habit that horrifies Storm so much of reading books out of order. Because when you're dealing with Harlequin categories, you really don't need to worry about it.
No, not at all. Not at all. And the Harlequin romance line, just so people are aware, can also be either sweet or spicy. Again, it depends on the author that you're getting. So step lightly, but
a question, sorry, all these questions for you.
No, ask away.
Let's say that a total newcomer to category, you've just said that about Harlequin romances. They can be either sweet or spicy. Plan accordingly. Where could that person go to get advance warning? If they were looking at February books, they don't want to wander in blind, and I'm assuming they can't all email you. Are there like websites or something like that?
It's really, I hate to say it, but you are taking your chances, because it could be a situation where, like, once you figure out an author, like Rachel Stewart writes for the romance line, and she used to write for Dare, so she likes to push the envelope, right? And her books are fantastic, so you're going to get spice when you read a Rachel Stewart. I read a Sophie Pembroke. Now, Sophie Pembroke I've read for years, and she is a sweet romance author. And then I read one of her books, and she had adult content. I was like, wait a minute. I had to triple check to see I was actually, in fact, reading a Sophie Pembroke novel. So it really does depend. I wish on the back of the books, they might put something that says explicit content.
Well, that used to be what you would get in Romantic Times magazine. Those little one-paragraph reviews would definitely give you what you could get, what you were expecting.
Just put a little flame emoji. I don't care. Put something to let people know. But, I just, we got here. Hello, I need a romance soon. Still looking at my options. I hope you find something PK. Niece, I would love if they had Italian Renaissance books. There, you got somebody else in your corner, Steve.
I will tootle on over to the right for Harlequin and see if I have any time.
What is the difference again between intrigue category and romantic suspense? So with intrigue, it focuses more on the mystery than the romance. With romantic suspense, it's more of the romance than the mystery. We're being chased by this serial killer, but we got about 10 minutes to kill, and there's this empty cabin that has one single bed.
The intrigue covers tend to give that away, right? The intrigue covers look like thriller covers. They don't.
Correct.
If they didn't have the branding on it, you wouldn't know you were looking at a romance cover.
Correct. Yep. I was interested in that fairy tale retelling once, but I didn't comment. Yeah, no, I think you might like those because Storm hiding again because we're talking about series out of order. Good fairy tale. Love pregnancy and baby romances. It would be cute if they had a little chili symbol on the back to denote hotness level. I agree so much, Laura. I really do. Now, I know it's all subjective, but if you even just put that, people at least could know going in and not be surprised. One way or the other.
There are some objective criteria, right? Mm-hmm. If at any point a character strong arms the silverware off the dining room table, well, that's not really open to interpretation.
Now into the romantic suspense. So as we were just talking about, the romantic suspense. So these ones tend to be, like I said, much more romance driven, but these are still a lot of fun and I like them a lot. So we have Cold Case Squad, which is part of the Kavanaugh Justice series. Book number, Storm, wait for it, 47 by Marie Farinella. If you want to read them in order, you have at it. You go right ahead. She's a good author, although I did just read one of her books. I finished one of her ones that came out a couple years ago, and I wasn't horribly impressed with it. So even some favorite authors can have misses down the line, Colton Threat Unleashed by Tara Taylor Quinn. The Coltons of Owl Creek, book number 1. I need to re-interview Tara Taylor Quinn. I haven't talked to her in a while. She might be. I'm trying to make a mental list of authors I want to reach out to see if they want to be interviewed.
the Coltons are everywhere.
Oh God, yeah.
They breed like rabbits. They get
Yeah.
into all kinds of trouble. There's no Colton that has a calm or an uneventful life.
No, not an
The story
accountant.
that most of you in the chat won't know, the tech guy off camera, Sarah, is a Colton.
Yeah, he probably is.
It's ridiculous. They're everywhere.
But that's a nice. I like the dog on the cover of that one. Boopy. And then we have. I really do like this author, Jennifer D. Bockel. This is Lethal Encounter, book 3 in the Texas Law series. A killer broadcasting his crime. Where will he strike next? She does some great, great books. If you want some great, like, that's the other thing too, is that, you know, both intrigue and romantic suspense tend to be suspenseful. But with the romantic suspense, you get like more car chase, more, if you like those kind of, you know, dad movies, for lack of a better term, you know, that's what you're going to get with the romantic suspense. And the last one, there's only 4 of these that come out every month. As you can tell from the cover of this one, that looks like, you know, Mission Impossible. We have The Bodyguard's Deadly Mission by Lisa Dodson. Fantastic.
And did I see a detail on that last cover that underscores a point that we've been making on these digression caddy category romance videos?
No, please.
Which is that these romances kind of quietly, kind of under the radar, are no longer just relentlessly all white.
Yes.
They aren't that anymore. It's no big deal. There's no parading. There's no, oh, look at us, aren't we great? It's just quietly been done. And the headquarters at Harlequin has not been burned to the ground.
Nope.
Readers are perfectly fine with this.
And I'm pretty sure every single line that we've looked at has had a couple of every single one.
Yeah.
Without big to do.
I would be really surprised if outside of the Bible Belt in the United States, I'd be really surprised if Harlequin has had even a single tetchy email on the subject.
Yep. No, and thank you for pointing that out, Steve, because you're absolutely correct. And then we have the special edition. This is still one of my favorite lines. Not a huge fan of these covers, but it is what it is.
I was going to ask you, isn't this cover redesign?
Yeah, these are the new redesign.
And, well, don't they stink?
They sort of kind of do, yeah.
Can we be gracious and say maybe it's, you know, beginners? They haven't figured out what they want to look like yet?
You know what? If you look, like, I've gone ahead and I've looked, you know, down the line a little bit, and they're getting a bit better. But I do, like, I had some issues with the branding at first, but now I'm noticing, like, I thought it was a lot smaller, this whole special edition, than it does say Harlequin down here. So they're not horrible, but they're not great. A Deal with Mr. Wrong by Anna James. Sisterhood of Chocolate and Wine, book number 2. I mean, the authors themselves, the books are going to be great. Outside, don't judge a book by its cover kind of a scenario, right?
And how would your thumbnail be for special editions?
Oh, gosh, these are small town, home and family. You know, you're getting a lot of secondary characters. You're getting a lot of series. You know, oh, the sister had a book, and then the brother has a book, and then, you know what I mean? Or you're getting a friend group, and they can be small town, as you're seeing on this one, and to the next one, which is a big city romance. So really, it's pretty much across the board. What you're not getting necessarily are billionaires and millionaires and royalty and
ordinary people. Then,
yeah, exactly. And I think they need to stay in North America, but I'm not absolutely certain. Don't quote me on that.
And one point we could make about, I mentioned that the Harlequin categories are all very watertight.
Yes.
So you don't need to worry about coming in on book 4 or book 14 or whatever. But we can throw a bone to Storm here and say the one benefit that you will get in Harlequin from this, if you start at the beginning, is wondering which of those secondary characters is going to spin off their own story. You'll already know who they are if you read them in order.
That's right.
There's a tiny cumulative benefit there. It's not prohibitive. It won't stop you from enjoying book 50.
Oh, goodness, no.
But you will get that if you read them in order.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know how many people value that, but I guess there can be a kind of fun in that.
Sure. No, it makes fun. It makes sense.
In mainstream Regency romances that are in series. the Debutante Diaries or whatever, starting those in order, you very much do wonder, the author will very clearly be positioning some secondary character to make you say,
yes.
"Oh, I wish we could get a novel about that person."
Yes, you're absolutely right. Big Sky Cowboy by Joanna Sims, The Brands of Montana, book number 14. He looks like an older gentleman, so I think that this might be a romance featuring a slightly older character, which I also absolutely love. Because not everybody needs to be in their 20s.
Maybe that explains the fact that he's leaning, but he's not leaning on his car. Or is that just bad Photoshop?
Potentially bad Photoshop, Steve.
If the car is, then he might not be up for romance.
That's right, yeah. And then speaking about, small town to big city, we have Her New York Minute by Darby Bromham, book 4 in the Friendship Chronicles series. I love her out, but I just feel like there's too much going on with the cover. I think that's my issue with it.
Yeah. Well, also, the horrifying prospect of bell bottoms making a comeback. I really don't want that. I went through that once. I really don't want that to happen again.
That was in the 1870s, right, Steve? And last but not least, this cover I do absolutely love. We have The Rancher's Love Song by McKenna Lee, which is The Woman of Dalton Ranch, book number 1. It's just super cute.
Is she carrying a baby?
Yeah. Out in the dust with those horses?
So we end as we began, where he's carrying the little baby and she looks over his shoulder and says, "Is that a bull?" Yeah. Oh, crap. It is a bull.
Oh, bull crap.
You just wouldn't do that. No one would do that.
I know, but it's pretty. So Rose says we need a whole Colton video guide. They're busy. So a number of years ago, Harlequin contracted me to do a video on the Coltons because it was their 20th anniversary. So that is available on the Harlequin YouTube page, but stay tuned. I will do a much more comprehensive, because I was stuck to a time limit there. I can do a much more comprehensive video here. So leave that with me and I will get to it. I will put it on my list if that's what you'd like to see. I do always take video requests. I'm happy to talk about anything that anybody wants me to talk about. Jan says, I've been very disappointed lately. My local Walmart have only been carrying 2 of the 4 romantic suspense books. Oh my gosh, for only about 3 to 4 months now. That is disappointing. Why only a couple?
That? Why would that happen?
That seems silly.
I don't have a car, so I don't get to go to Walmart. Is Walmart the type of place that would respond if you said something? If you politely, not waving a finger or yelling or anything, but if you said, this, you're only carrying half this line, would you mind ordering the other 2 volumes?
I don't see why not, because they have buyers for individual regions. So maybe it's like, do you know what I mean?
I wonder how much of that kind of feedback they get. Or I wonder if maybe people look at Walmart and think, oh, this is such a big monolith of a chain that no one will pay attention. So they don't complain. Instead, they complain privately, but don't mention anything.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
I wonder about that because I used to stock the category romances at a retail bookstore in downtown Boston. I did that forever and ever, and I very much wanted the ladies who bought them regularly to tell me what is wrong with this. What is wrong? Is there anything wrong with this? Is there anything you want me to tell the rep? Mm-hmm. I can't help but think that Walmart wouldn't be the same way.
Mm-hmm. I like to think, though, like if you had, and I know they're few and far between now, if you had a local independent bookstore, right? Little mom and pop type bookstore. If you went to them and say, hey, could you order me these in every month? I will purchase them, but can I pre-order them from you? And give you the sale as opposed to Walmart.
Right.
Or directly to the Harlequin website or whatever the case may be,
Unfortunately, a lot of mom and pop indie retail bookstores are snobbish. They would break rule number 1. Oh. If you ask them, could you carry the Harlequin line as a matter of course, not ordering them from me, but just have them in your store, they wouldn't do it. And they refuse because they think they're bad books. They'd refuse for personal reasons, snobby reasons.
That's my big beef that I had a couple years ago with, oh my gosh, what's that one in LA that's the entirely romance bookstore? The Rip Bodice. They were famous and refused to carry category. They said they would not carry category until Harlequin released the male romance. Then all of a sudden they interviewed the author in the store. They had a big display in the front. And no, sorry.
I used to love feedback from the ladies who regularly, they knew the days that I was swapping out the categories. They knew what was coming, and they had all sorts of opinions. I used to love chatting with them more than anything else. And I would tell them when I took over the section, I would tell them, if there's anything here that, that isn't here that you want to see, or that is here that you don't have any interest in, you just let me know. And one of these ladies is this enormous 65-year-old woman who obviously had not heard a crossword directed in her direction since World War I. She looked me up and down and said, it's all fine. You're going to take some getting used to.
I'm pretty sure every single person on BookTube has thought that same thing at one point or another.
These ladies had only ever had their own kind running that section. Then all of a sudden it's this guy.
Mm-hmm. Rose says, I like the watercolor edges on the romantic suspense covers. Me too. I like that kind of faded. I think it's a really neat cover design. Yes, love the special edition. And Jan says, no bookstores around me anymore. Have to drive a ways to Barnes & Noble and that's it. I'm sorry. That's too bad. Like, I mean, sometimes you don't want to have to go to the big chains, but sometimes, unfortunately, now you're not really given a choice. And that's the unfortunate part. Into some of Steve's favorites, we have the Love Inspired line, which these are faith-based Christian romances. I do like them.
That's not why I hang my head. I hang my head because we're likely to bump into the Amish.
Oh, we're going to bump into a few Amish here, Steve. So stay tuned. We have A Baby in Alaska by Heidi McCannon. Home to Heart's Bay, book number 5. Looks really cute. These ones, the cover design has not changed on these ones as of yet. I have to admit, I love this cover. I think it's so cute. We have a Valentine's Day return by Brenda Minton, Sunset Ridge, book number 2. It just feels so February to me with the, Valentine's Day.
Kind of amazing that that's the first we've seen.
Of a Valentine's Day book? Yeah, I know. You'd think that in February they'd be all over it. Her Chance at Family by Angie Dickens. Heartland Sweethearts, book number 2. A lot of small town, a lot of like home and family, of course, as you would expect. Oh, here you go, Steve.
Family is one thing, but if the Photoshop on that cover is any indication, she ought to take her chance at having her foundation redone because that house is about ready to move in. Let's hope it's bad Photoshop. We don't have the whole family dying.
The Widow's Bachelor Bargain by Marta Perry, Brides of Lost Creek, book 7. Marta Perry always writes a good book. She really does. I mean, I suggest if you're going to try her, though, start with her thriller books. Brotherhood of the Raven. They do take place in Amish country, but they don't necessarily feature Amish main characters. But she's really good. A lot of Amish widows I'm noticing. Like, are they killing their husbands? What's the situation? Every month there's an Amish widow. I'm like, should we look into this?
Should we look into this?
Their Forbidden Amish Match by Lucy Bayer. Now, he looks like he's not Amish.
Yeah, he's an Englisher.
Oh, yeah, an Englisher doctor. Oh, and he's a doctor. Interesting. It
looks like he's packing a couple of forbidden fruits, if you know what I mean.
Churning the butter, Steve. Churning the butter. And last but not least,
what these live streams are. I really don't. You just picture somebody in the Harlequin office saying, "Oh, a live stream about our books," and then they get 15 minutes in and say, "Oh, well, I don't know about this."
But okay, excuse me. But you tell me one other place on the internet that is going through every single book they're bringing out this month, and we are in a way critiquing them without. But you know what I mean?
We haven't read them.
Don't read them.
This is intelligent commentary on what they're doing. But I still can't help but picture that Harlequin executive saying, "Oh, they seem like fans, but."
Their Inseparable Bond by Jill Weatherholt, book number 19 in the Canine's Companion series. I really, really love this series, all about service dogs, which I think is so cute. They're really, really good. I like them a lot. They're super adorable. Let's see what we got here. Do Harlequins still do deals? I was thinking, write down the books you are missing and wait and shop an online deal. That's a great idea, Storm. They do still have the deals, but they used to do Friday deals. Like every Friday they would have a sale. But you really can't get backlist from them unless you're getting it as an ebook, unfortunately. So, and then Jan says, thanks, she'll try that. PK. Amish not killing their husbands. They've just got to hint to that she has experience, very much like Regency era books. I like the experience in capital letters. I do every romance, non-Harlequin, released every week, every Wednesday morning. Yes, PK does a live show every Wednesday morning of all the new romance releases, if you're interested.
No kidding. No, I've never seen
PK's channel, Steve. Yeah, wow. She's really, really enjoyable. She does a live stream every single morning of some sort of new releases or something. Definitely something that you might be interested in.
Could you send me the link?
I will send you her channel, definitely. And last but not least, the love-inspired suspense line. So again, exactly as before, but now with suspense. And dogs. Alaskan Wilderness Rescue by Sarah Varland. Canine Search and Rescue, book number 11. That is a beautiful dog.
Aren't they all?
I saw one. I get the emails from the Toronto Humane Society every week. And there was a husky that was up for adoption. And I showed my husband and I said, oh.
Boy, they don't usually stick around. They're usually
my husband's comment was, he's gone now. Like by the time you got this email, he's been adopted.
Although, for any of you who are listening, I'll say an abbreviated version of my usual patter. They are going to be adopted. The purebreds are going to be adopted. So go to your local shelter, adopt 2 dogs at the same time, make sure they're both over 10, and pick the ones with teeth missing or 3 eyes or something like that. Yes. They're full of love, and you will not regret it.
Same with cats. As the cat person, I have to say the same thing with a cat. Absolutely. Dangerous Texas Hideout by Virginia Vaughn. Cowboy Protectors, book number 3.
What is that structure in the background?
It looks like maybe a hen house.
Oh, right. Okay.
I think. I don't know anything about farms, but
who puts a hen house in the middle of a field? I didn't even think of that.
With the horses running around, it doesn't make sense, does it? Interesting. Now I'm curious. Deadly Mountain Escape by Mary Alford. Not part of a series, just a standalone. Another badly photoshopped dog, but a cute dog nonetheless.
A pointer.
There you go. See?
One of those.
Oh, that was like your Malin, right?
That was Malin. Oh my. Oh wow, look at that. Sorry.
No,
you're fine. The sun has come out here.
I noticed. We're almost done though. We're almost done.
It hasn't been out in forever.
I love the cover on this one, Silencing the Witness by Laura Conaway. I just feel like the bird looks evil and that the bird did it.
Well, same thing in the first cover that we saw.
Yeah.
Surely the people that moved the hen house into the middle of the field were the hens, and they're the ones who stole the kid who had that stuffed monkey.
They murdered the kid and left, Targeted for Elimination by Jill Elizabeth Nelson. Now, it is, in my opinion, it's odd to see people on the love-inspired suspense covers. Usually it's a scene or just a dog or a grizzly bear. Till the end of this year, Steve, we're going to be talking about the grizzly bear.
What if one happens again?
Well, then you're just going to have to read it, aren't you? And last, but certainly not least, Wyoming Abduction Threat by Elizabeth Reese.
Now, when we're talking about love-inspired suspense, when it comes to that, as opposed to romantic suspense or intrigue, where do the variables fall there? Are these violent? Gritty?
There's definitely, I mean, they're not sweet. The one that I read, am I reading? I'm reading one right now that it's actually about a serial killer. So there's a serial killer hunting this woman, but it's a faith-based element. So it's almost like, I want to say it's like reading an intrigue, where I think the mystery or the suspense part of it is more than the romance, but then you also bring in the, oh, I'm praying to God. And if I was being chased by a serial killer, I might be doing that as well.
I think we've covered this a couple of times, but one other question that might come up from people who haven't read category romances, in the love-inspired and the love-inspired suspense, are those prayers ever answered? Are there miracles in these things, or that would be left for explicitly religious fiction?
I think that would. So I read the one earlier this month, the Desert Rescue book, and she was being stalked by someone. And at the end of the book, what really set me off was that she's like, oh, thank God saved us. God's the one who saved me. I'm like, pretty sure the police had something to do with it as well. Like.
Right. But that's a character saying that. What I'm wondering,
it depends on the author.
Does God ever actually save them?
No. There's no miracles, if you will.
Okay.
Yeah, if that's what you're asking. But in terms of the writing themselves, some books can be more preachy than others. Whereas some it's just like, okay, we do go to church, and almost always, one of the characters is a believer, one is not. Either they never did or they lost their faith for some reason.
And there's conversion?
Yes.
Okay.
Almost every single time. That's a huge hallmark of that plot. Yeah. So yeah. Couple more comments. So PK, the link I'm going to send you. On Monday, she does cozy mysteries. On Tuesdays, mystery. On Wednesdays, romance. Thursdays, sci-fi fantasy. Fridays, usually more cozies because there are tons of them.
Fantastic.
Yep. She goes for about a half an hour every morning.
Like myself, but I tend to get paid for doing that, so I don't. I
do it. Too many dogs. I lost my 16-year-old border collie recently, and it's hard seeing the lovely, healthy dogs. Oh, Lisa, I'm sorry.
I'm sorry to hear that too, Lisa. You could adopt.
Mm-hmm.
It'll get easier if you do that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, no.
Jokes for bear romantic? No. Metal, yes.
No.
Steve, I adopted a beagle at 11 that had heartworm. Doesn't have it now. Thank you, Esther.
I adopted a beagle a long time ago who had a serious health problem, and the people at the pound said, don't adopt him. You're just breaking your heart. He's not going to live. And he did. He did.
Mm. No, metal romance would be a great new line. Adopted a cat with 2 broken hips. Got her care. 12 years later, she's still a Spitfire named Storm. Nice. And Storm says she loves love-inspired suspense. Yes. So that's it, guys. That was the February books. So they will be available on Tuesday potentially at your Walmart. Maybe not. Definitely on Amazon. And definitely by ebook.
That was your latest catty category breakdown.
We do plan, at least I plan to do these every month. Whether or not I have my cohort is...
I wouldn't miss it. I wouldn't miss it. The main obstacle will be your doofus IT guy.
Hopefully we're getting things working now, and I'll just log on way earlier. When I knew I could get back on, I literally left myself sitting in here and went to go eat. I'm like, I'm not clicking off of the screen.
No, let's reconvene at the end of January and do March. Or right. Okay, right. The end of February and do March. Absolutely.
I agree. I think it's going to be great. Yeah, no, we'll talk and figure out a date. But thank you guys all so much. And like I said, if you ever have any video suggestions or anything like that, let me know. I can do them by myself. Maybe I can get Steve to come on and talk with me about these as well. Because,
imagine if we did an hour-long historical.
Oh, God, that would be fun.
It'd be wonderful. We talk about historicals in Harlequin and also outside of Harlequin in the main
100%, just historicals in general. Oh, yeah, a historical chat. We might have to have 2 live streams then in March, Steve.
That would be, we both read a ton of that in romance and also outside of romance with things like Gone with the Wind. So
God.
Just a huge amount to talk about.
And mystery historicals and,
Although I think romance and history, I think that's the bridge that most people use to get from one category to the other.
I agree.
Mystery, yes, but I think it's mostly if you're reading Ivanhoe, you're awful close in a lot of ways to reading Harlequin historical. Same thing, even with Pride and Prejudice. You're
for
closer.
Sure.
Those worlds are closer together than they would be in.
Oh, absolutely, absolutely. But again, and it goes back to my point that Jane Austen is considered to be very, important literature, but Harlequin historical is not, and they're really not that different. I hate to break it to you. The tropes are exactly the same,
except perhaps in terms of literary quality.
Says you.
I'm going to speak up a little for Jane Austen here. I don't think there's a single.
I'm not knocking Jane Austen, not at all. But I'm just saying. Before we actually start arguing here, I'll let you go and get.
Well, there are no grizzly bears in Jane Austen.
This is true.
Which is really, really good.
I really can't argue with that.
No.
So thank you all so much for joining. Shout out in the comments if you have any questions. And we will talk to you guys next time.
Yes, indeed. So much
Thanks,
fun.
Steve.